definitely me.
In different ways.
Yeah, you're kind of lazy too.
Who's the loudest?
What?
Depends. I'm the loudest acutely, but overall she talks more, so she produces more noise.
Who is the strictest parent of dogs?
Ooh.
Definitely me.
Yeah, you're the dog whisperer.
Who is more of the introvert?
Ooh. Technically me.
Yeah, I would say you.
Who gets the drunkest?
Definitely you.
I'm a lightweight.
Yeah.
So, but very few and far between.
Yeah, it's the same as the loud question. I am drunk more, but she definitely gets more drunk.
Who shops more on Amazon?
Ooh, it's probably 50-50.
Yeah.
But very different buying habits.
Yep.
Who gets hangry?
Oh,
Who?
both.
Yeah. That's a dangerous place to be around us when we're hungry.
Better at cleaning.
Well, I'm
Definitely.
better at it, but we have very different definitions of clean.
We do.
Who's better at it?
Definitely me.
Definitely me.
I mean, I get stuff done quick. You will clean a couch in 3 hours. I'll get the whole
it's
house
really
done.
clean.
That couch will be spotless, but
Who's a better driver?
Don't ask that question.
For sure me.
That's what you think. Before we get to today's episode, I have something really exciting to share with you. Our 6-Figure School business mentorship is officially open for enrollment, and I would love to work with you over the next 12 weeks, where we will equip you with a step-by-step plan to launch or grow your business or your big idea, along with mindset tools to help you get out of your own way, and the most incredible community of like-minded women to support you and hold you accountable. Even if you don't have a business yet, but you know you are meant for more, there is no such thing as joining 6-Figure School too early, because you have access to this program and community for the life of the program. So you can truly grow and learn at your own pace. I want you to ask yourself this question. What kind of impact could I be making 6 months from now? And I want you to think about that while you listen to just a few of our recent 6-Figure School graduates, what they have been able to accomplish since joining the 6-Figure School community.
I am from a smaller area where it can be hard to find people who understand you when you get very excited and passionate about growing a business. And joining 6-Figure School will give you the community and new friendships of people who are here to listen to you, to support you, and to help you through this journey, who get you, and that is priceless.
I joined the last 6-Figure School program, and it was amazing. And if you are on the defense right now, but you know that you want to build a business, that you have a purpose, that you want to make an impact on others, and are feeling overwhelmed or don't even know where to start, this is the program for you.
If you are on the fence about joining 6-Figure School, I want you to ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? It's just a few weeks, and at the end of it, you could have a foundation that is literally going to change your entire life into something more beautiful than you can currently imagine. So what's the worst that could happen?
Just think about where you could be 6 months from now and the lives that you could be impacting. Enrollment is only open for a few days, so don't miss your opportunity to join us. I cannot wait to work with you and grow and learn inside this community. So head to join6figureschool.com. You can get all the details there, answer your questions, and enroll and start this amazing journey of launching and scaling your big idea to make the impact that you know you're meant to make. Now let's get to today's episode. You ready?
Yeah.
You solid? Okay, we're back with another episode of Powerhouse Spouse. It's been a while. Elliot Schwartz, welcome to your own living room.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's good to be here. Feel right at home.
Because you are?
Yep.
So your episodes have actually been quite popular. Actually, meaning I'm not surprised, but I think you were surprised. There's been quite a request for more of you on the podcast, and it has been a few weeks since we've had you on an episode. So
Yeah.
the people are just dying to know your thoughts on a couple of things.
Well, I knew that was going to happen. I had my agent kind of hold out for a while, so when the offer was right.
To renegotiate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm back.
Yep.
I got the right number. I feel good about this. Let's get it.
Okay, great. Well, super excited to have you. Clearly, it's Friday at the end of a very long week. I'm a little bit delirious in a good way. It's been a busy week. But we like to throw in these episodes to give people a glimpse of what it really looks like to support an entrepreneur, a powerhouse woman, if you will.
Yeah.
And there's no better man for the job than the original powerhouse man, Elliot Schwartz.
There's another one now?
Well,
No.
there is
Okay.
Danny. He's the one that makes this podcast happen, so we got to include him.
Okay, that's fair.
So a few weeks ago, I had put a question out to our Instagram, our text list, and we're actually collecting responses for a freebie we're putting together, just questions that people wanted to ask someone who is building a business. And there were quite a few that had to do with relationships and, just made for good podcast content. So I thought we'd answer some of those today and get a male perspective on them, because we're doing this free resource that'll be available in a few weeks, and it's going to be all women. So I want to hear, your perspective on some of these questions.
Okay.
Are you game for that?
I'm big game for that.
Good. Thank you for confirming just how in you are for this.
Yeah.
You don't really have a choice, right?
I'm here. Let's get
Okay.
it.
So this topic actually does come up a lot, and it's one we've talked on a few times, but it seems to keep coming up. So it must mean that it's something that people aren't ever tired of really hearing about,
Okay.
which is just the idea that, if your spouse isn't on the same page with your vision for this big idea you have, specifically when it comes to investing in yourself. I know we have had our own journey with that, with wanting to make business investments, but what is your perspective from the spouse side of things, thinking about the times when I came to you wanting to invest in a mastermind, a coaching program? The very first one was when I wanted to write the book. You've always been really, really supportive. We've never been at odds with stuff like that. But is there anything specifically that you think helped the conversation or helped you feel really comfortable with the conversation?
Yeah, I think you approached it, one, after I've been fed and was in a decent mood.
Very important.
Very important.
Timing is key.
Strategy, people. Strategy. But two, you had tangible goals that you wanted to get out of the investment, which I think was really important for me. I think particularly men are, they're less woo. And so if you just came to me and said oh, I just know the Spirit's going to guide me and we're just going to invest large amounts of money and just the energy exchange is going to really put it back into our wallets, I would be like,
I don't talk like that anyway.
That's probably a no. But you were on point. You're like, here are my goals. I'm going to 10x our investment. Here's my strategy. Here's what I want to do long term. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get there, but this course is going to fill in those gaps. So I think that was really important for me just to hear that. Once you had a solid game plan, I'm 100% on board.
Yeah. I remember, especially with the bigger investment, which was, I guess, technically the second one. The first one was in this program to write the book, and then the second one was in a mastermind, which was many times more than the first investment. And
Yeah,
the business wasn't making that much money yet. So this was really an investment where we were going to be coming out of our personal money in order to fund it.
Yeah.
So I knew that I had to come to you with basically an investment plan.
Totally.
If I were asking you to invest in the business as an investor, I would have to have a plan and show you how I was going to get a return. So I think I just inherently knew, even I'm more logical, like in my line of thinking too, more than woo. So I knew I needed to see the numbers broken out.
Right.
And I think that's a really good point, that I don't know if this is like a general male quality, but I think a lot of the men I know tend to be more logical in terms of their line of thinking. So coming with an actual plan.
Yeah, but the funny thing was, like, we had this big plan mapped out of how we were going to 10x our investment, and here's the path we were going to do it. And it really didn't look much like the plan we had in place.
Right. It ended up a lot different.
Growth came from so many different areas, and I became more in line with woo after that, because really when you put yourself out there, the universe does deliver. You show up differently. You're making new connections. There's new opportunities. You start seeing opportunities and learning how to see opportunities. And we gained in ways that we never expected to gain. So it was interesting for me to see that and to be a part of that journey and to become more of a believer in the woo.
Yeah. But you needed to hear the logical before you could get on board with the other side.
Logical.
So what was it that helped you feel or get to experience what I was experiencing? Because that first investment I made, and I was the one that went through the program, you were the supportive partner, you weren't there with me, but I think there probably were things that I don't even realize we did, or maybe there were things I didn't do well, to have you feel still a part of it, as I was going through it. So was there anything that you can, this was a couple of years ago, so I don't know if you
there's
remember.
a few concrete things I can remember that helped. And one was incorporating me in the plan, because you were said, hey, here's how we're going to 10X, and you laid out a roadmap, and you're like, hey, is there anything that you see that you think would be something to keep my eye on, to learn about, to incorporate? So I was in part of the game planning process. Even though you had an initial game plan, you incorporated me into that, which was awesome. And then you would go away on weekends and do the retreats and stuff and meet a bunch of new people. And you would talk to me about all the new people you'd meet, and you would tell me about what you learned. So, I got a lot out of it too. Just the nuggets you took and sharing with me was really valuable. Yeah.
And these questions today are kind of centered around this theme, which if people don't know listening, this is us. I have, most of my time is poured into Powerhouse Women, although I do see it as our business. Yeah. And you work a 9-to-5 job, you're in sales. So I think it's important too to think about, where is your spouse coming from? So from the perspective, when I think about when I was working in a 9-to-5 job, it wasn't something that was common for a person to go and invest a couple $1,000s in a personal investment for themselves. It's just a different mindset.
Right.
So not that people, or not that your partner maybe doesn't support, they may just not understand, but if you can relate it to other places that we typically invest, a university degree, or, going back to school and getting an MBA, I look at a lot of the things that are available now for entrepreneurship, things like masterminds, which have been really valuable for us as the equivalent, that I almost learn more.
Well, and I think we're overlooking something. So when you get a new job, and let's say you're in sales, or you get whatever your position is, usually there's a training process involved.
Right.
So a mastermind, a lot of times we had those sales jobs, they would send us to Georgia or wherever we went to and did a week or 2 weeks of training. That's a mastermind. You have an instructor, you have people you're networking with, you have experienced sales reps coming in, giving their testimonial. That's really a mastermind that you just you don't see the cost because you're not coming out of pocket. The company's putting that on. But in a way, that is the same kind of training program for a new entrepreneur or experienced entrepreneur to get to the next level. You're paying for it yourself.
Right.
So I think most people have experienced investing in themselves through the company. Maybe they don't actually, it doesn't feel like they are because somebody else is paying the bill. But I guarantee you, most people, even in corporate jobs, have been in a mastermind or training program of some sort that just didn't feel like that because they weren't fronting the bill.
Right. Or maybe they didn't even want to be there.
That could be too.
Some of those conferences were pretty boring.
True. But I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes they had good training programs. And if you went in with the right attitude, you could get a lot out. I still use some of my training from sales way back in the day. So
Yeah, that's such a great point. So think about it that way. If your spouse is working in a traditional job, see where you can relate it to something they can understand. Not like they can't understand what a mastermind
Right.
is, but you're so right. Like, why is it that when we go to start a business, we just expect, oh, I should just know how to figure this all out on my own?
Yeah.
That's the hard way. Don't do it that way.
that is
It's
definitely the hard way.
I don't recommend.
Yeah.
Especially when you can learn. Now there's so many different programs, and there's ways that you can learn from people who've done what you want to do. So I love that. Any other thoughts just for, if someone is considering, investing in the next stretch for them, the next program that's going to help them grow,
Yeah.
how can they have a really productive conversation with whoever they're involving in that decision? A spouse, significant other, anyone else that they might go to for advice?
I just think it's the vision, and I think it's the enthusiasm, controlled enthusiasm with a plan. I mean,
What do you mean by controlled enthusiasm?
you got to meet your partner wherever they're at. And so
Like thinking about times where I definitely come back like,
I have too, and I'm really excited for sure. But
yeah.
enthusiasm alone is probably not going to do it. I mean, it could, but you really have to invite them into the vision and have a game plan and really cast that where you're going together and bring them along for that.
Yeah, I love that. So the other question, which I thought was really great and something that we've definitely had to figure out our own rhythm for, is balancing work time and family time. Because, if someone is working a 9-to-5 job, their workday ends at a certain time. Where for an entrepreneur, especially if someone's building their business as a side hustle, they might work full time and then come home and have a couple hours spent building their business.
Yeah.
So what do you think, what are, in your words, some of the things we've learned about how to balance that? Because we do actually have really different, just like work, not work ethic. We both work really hard, but we work really differently.
Yeah. I think just open communication, because really it's about our individual needs for connection with each other. And so when we relate that to the other person, like, hey, this means a lot, family time, going for a walk, or, sitting down and eating a meal together, like that means a lot to me. That's like, I wait all day for that moment, and you've always made it a priority. And it's not always going to happen, but I have to be open and transparent that means something to me for you to make it a priority in your day. So I do that with certain things, and you do that too. You're like, hey, I want to do this, but I can't tonight. So let's have a rain check, and we'll grab a glass of wine at 9 or when I'm done. And we still make that time. It just may not be what it normally looks like, but we're really committed to that, which is huge.
And I think you nailed it, because there were even times where I would get frustrated that you would be trying to get me to stop work,
Right.
but I didn't communicate that, hey, actually we have this launch coming up in a few days. These next 3 nights are going to require me to put in a couple extra hours.
Yeah.
And so then I would be frustrated because I felt like I was letting you down.
Yeah.
But it was really coming from this place of I hadn't communicated my needs. We hadn't had a conversation to clarify what was happening, or that this was just like a,
Right.
not a regular thing, but something that required it.
And then I asked 4 times, and you finally tell me like, hey, I'm right in the middle of this. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Like no pressure.
Sometimes I'm not great at communicating my needs at all. What would you say, what does a typical day look like for us? Like one person working
Oh my
a more
gosh.
corporate job, one
Sometimes
person.
it's chaos.
I know. I'm curious to hear your answer to that. A lot of people asked about like, what does a day in the life look like just for like an entrepreneur? But I think this is kind of a cool question to ask as well. Like in a family dynamic, what is
So I love our house, but it's not optimal for the layout of having 2 conversations at once anywhere. So Lindsay will be trying to go upstairs in the office and shutting her door, and I'll be pacing around because I love to pace when I talk, and I'm like yelling and screaming and getting excited.
The noise carries a lot in our house.
The noise carries. So, I mean, it's just fun. I mean, it's kind of fun to
Yeah.
manage that and take calls outside or do all kinds of different things. But
yeah, because and I know a lot of people are dealing with this now. In the last year, we're both working from home, but we actually both always worked from home.
Yeah.
Because you're in sales, so you're an outside sales position. So we've always had to learn how to balance the dynamic between two people who have to be on Zoom calls or conference calls and things like that.
yeah, I think we're doing a better job of sharing schedules and saying, hey, tomorrow at 10, like I need to be as loud as I possibly want to be and you need to be as quiet as you can be. And we prioritize the big ones.
Yeah, sharing calendar invites has been big. I still need to do a better job of that because I'll schedule a podcast where I do need the house to be quiet or I need like all the internet bandwidth to be really optimal so that like it doesn't interrupt the recording and then, can't be streaming games or Netflix or
Can't be playing
whatever.
Oculus in your underwear in the kitchen.
I guess not. Yeah, that's not the best time. But I would say like for us, the routine, like we both have a pretty good morning routine. Exercise is really important. You really inspire me in that way. But we both have like a morning workout routine. You have a daily ritual that I bet a lot of people don't know if they don't follow you on social media of a daily breakfast burrito.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Never miss.
Literally every day. People like think we're joking. We're like, no, every single day. This is a food group in our house.
I know.
I sometimes join you.
I have to eat one vegetable at some point in my life.
Well, that's not a vegetable. We've talked about this. But we really kind of have like our set schedule in terms of work hours. And then where we really come back together, like you said, is for dinner. And that has been our place where we get to unwind and, we really don't talk that much until after dinner. We'll go for a walk or something like that. But
True.
I think having those rituals where we do have like time set aside where we know we're going to spend time with each other, doing something, for us, having a meal together is what's really important. But I think it's those things that have helped us balance that, like the different schedules and just understand where we want to get back to even in seasons. Like right now we're gearing up for a launch. So things are a little bit more chaotic, but making sure we have those at least a few nights a week where we're coming together and doing our rituals that make us happy. Yeah. Anything else? What else do you think has made our helping to balance the schedule, like the day-to-day life of two different work modes? How do you think that
I think
has
just
worked?
grace. Like sometimes one person will be under a lot of pressure. Sometimes the other person will be under a lot of pressure. And when you're under pressure, sometimes you don't act like yourself. When you're hungry, sometimes you don't act like yourself. So, I mean, when I know you're slammed, I'll try to make you like some food and bring it up to your office. And when I'm really busy, you'll like, I don't know, bring me water or just take care of me in little ways that mean a lot. So
There have been a few times I've been on a coaching call and all of a sudden a breakfast burrito just slides across the desk and the person's like, what was that? Yeah, that's love right there, people. That's it. Secrets to a happy and healthy
Sometimes you
marriage.
don't eat a lot. That is true.
Yeah.
You'll go a long time without eating.
Thanks. Thank goodness for you. I always have a breakfast burrito ready to be made.
But is there anything you can think about how we support each other on that?
Yeah, I think what you were saying too, just about like the communication, that's been the biggest thing we've learned because like I was saying, the places where I would get frustrated before were always because of expectations that I hadn't communicated. I think that's just like a great tip in life in general for relationships is, usually where we get upset is an expectation that hasn't been met.
Yeah. And not just you, me too.
Any relationship, right?
Yeah.
But it's usually one, like I always have to check in to say like, oh, okay, I had that expectation. Did I actually express that? And was it agreed upon?
Right.
Because then that's when like maybe upset is valid and there's a conversation to be had. But 9 times out of 10, it's an expectation I had that I didn't communicate. And that's the source of my frustration.
That really does solve a lot of problems.
It really does.
It really does.
There you go.
Prevents a lot.
Well, thank you so much for joining me for another episode.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining me in your own living room. And we're going to record a couple more here for you guys because there were some awesome questions. So stay tuned for the next installment.
Yeah.
Powerhouse Spouse.
I'll be back.